Hello people, I'm here in the world of darkness to tell you a little about the various clans that inhabit the world. Today we're going to talk about a clan that may be more at home in the untamed wilderness than the urban jungle that has come to epitomize the modern knights. These Outlanders, as they have come to be called by other kindred, are wanderers in nature who make their own path through life. Despite their clan being among the first to join the Camarilla, a wild soul that drives many to join the ranks of the Anarch movement, or to become autarchus, unconcerned with the day-to-day politics that dominate vampiric society. The Gangrel largely live up to the meaning behind their name. The word refers to vagabonds or drifters who proudly fill their ranks. But there's more to the clan than an unending wanderlust accentuated with a bestial disposition. The Gangrel, despite their crassness, have a history that has been recited orally throughout the centuries, which ensures that the younger generations will learn of their heritage. As with anything concerning vampiric history, deciphering fact from fiction, or a healthy dose of embellishment, is anything but easy. Figuring out the history behind the first Gangrel members is difficult due to the wide array of ancient tales and folklore. But one thing unites all of unwritten history: the fact that the Outlanders have always been wanderers. They followed nomadic tribes in the most ancient of days, and when the sun threatened to destroy them between destinations, they would find refuge within the very earth as a way to escape the light that could end the vampire's eternal night. Among the plethora of tales, there are also mutterings of their progenitor, Anoia, the antediluvian who chased Ishtar throughout the old world. But before she felt the wrath of the Bull of Heaven, before she embraced her first child, even before she had a fateful encounter with Cain, she was a child abandoned to the wolves by her mother, Lilith. Or so the old yarn states. Lilith has a tragic story, and her misfortune affects all she came across. A woman who did not submit to another's will and was cast out for it, cursed to never know the love of another, whether it was the first vampire or even her own daughter, whom she abandoned to a pack of wolves. Instead of consuming the crying child, the pack raised her, turning the child into a skilled, if not primal, hunter. During this time, she may have founded another group. According to a Gangrel historian named Lord Ashton, Anoia took a mate from the pack and bore him children, and it is from them that lupines trace their ancestry. The mother of werewolves, or at least that's what some scholars tend to think. Regardless, the hunter made her way to Enoch and was subsequently embraced. The stories begin to diverge at this juncture. Toreador scholars point to the Tablet of Destiny and their progenitor's escape to ancient Sumer in an attempt to hide from the prolific hunter. But there was a relationship with another antediluvian that affected Anoia and still plagues her children to this day: her friendship with Ravnas. Multiple stories intertwine here. At some point, the two became friends. The tale of the Tiger Queen and the Spider King states that the two were siblings who wandered westward towards Central Asia. Anoia increased her power in Sumer, while Ravnas built up his own clan. Their arrangement worked out well for many years, but somewhere along the line they came to blows. There are multiple tales to explain the feud. Some say Ravnas betrayed Anoia and caused her to be exiled, which forced her to live with wild beasts, whereas other tales state that Anoia was the instigator. Regardless, armies were raised and clashed. From here, tales differ. According to the Tiger Queen story, Anoia's followers were physically stronger, but Ravnas' warriors were far more cunning. Their feud climaxed, supposedly, as Ravnas summoned a great cataclysm that broke the Gangrel forces and saw them scatter across the world, whereas other tales state that the trickster turned the hunter's own soldiers against her. Regardless, the battle was lost. Another tale told by Ravnas members is that of betrayal on Anoia's part. She somehow managed to trick Ravnas into a trap that ultimately cost him his own life. Regardless, the Gangrel broke. Those who fled north latched onto Siberian tribes and Vikings, whereas the majority fled west and south to Africa. As for the Tiger Queen, no one knows if she died that day, or if she's just a patient huntress lying in wait, ready to pounce and get her revenge. After the fallout of their battle, the Gangrel saw little use in the main civilizations that had been springing up. They spent their time preying on tribal societies and becoming ingrained within their culture, whether it was as evil spirits meant to be appeased, were building up their broods among these fringe communities. That didn't stop some from finding themselves within Rome, but not in the positions of power that so many Venture and Malkavians had. That's not to say that there were no Gangrel leaders during this time. The great Gangrel Odin, the All-High, ruled groups of Northmen as a god, sending his armies down to raid civilizations. The bravest and fiercest of them earned the right of the embrace. The Dark Age was a time of tumultuous growth for the clan. Regarded as members of the low clans by their vampiric peers, despite being one of the founding clans of the Camarilla, they decided to spread themselves out and expand. While the other clans bickered among themselves, the Outlanders, as a whole, explored, conquered, and traded. But during this time, they participated in one vampiric conflict of renown, the Omen War, to achieve the unholy transformation that saw a bunch of wizards transform into kindred. Sacrifices needed to be made, namely the lives of Tzimisce, Nosferatu, and Gangrel clan members. To avenge those they lost, the Outlanders came down upon Tremere Chantries with a fury that would have made Odin the Allfather proud. Now the Renaissance caused an end to the clan's expansion. Loss of woodland removed needed shelter for the Gangrel. That, combined with the decline of paganism, led to many reclusive members being hard-pressed to find prey. Some left the Camarilla and traveled even further out, attempting to find some untouched wilderness or tribal society that they could claim as their own. The Victorian Age saw humanity expand, and not only did the rapid growth of cities and technology push Outlanders further away from society, but the growth of religious influence made more than a few Gangrel cringe. Not to mention the fact that a few of these mortals had begun to exhibit what has been called true faith, which could send even the most battle-hardened Gangrel fleeing in terror. Far too many kindred remembered the religious zealotry of the Dark Ages, and most Gangrel had no want to be chased by an angry mob. That's not to say that all Gangrel removed themselves from society completely. A new subsect of the bestial clan known as the City Gangrel began to spring up. Those Gangrel who adapted to the cramped, crowded cities and rampant urbanization of previously wild areas. Also, certain members of the clan preferred to at least have some company, unlike their cousins who hid in the remote areas. They participated in kindred politics, the most famous of which was the scholar Beckett. If you played Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, that name may ring a few bells. The protagonist first meets Beckett after a vicious encounter. He questions you about the strange happenings in the area, taking particular interest in the Arcaran sarcophagus. Beckett, like many other centuries-old Cainites, has taken up a hobby that has become his calling in life. Unlike many of his other kin that spend their time hunting and running wild through lesser populated areas of the world, the Gangrel has become one of the world's foremost Nodist scholars. Nodist refers to the land of Nod, a place just east of Eden, the area Cain was banished to after the murder of Abel. These scholars look into the history of Cain and the first city, Enoch. Nodism is something of a rarity among the Camarilla in the final nights, but within the ranks of the Sabbat, it is a way of life, a theological cornerstone, if you'd like, that keeps the howling horde somewhat sane. Beckett has no formal allegiance to either group, only to the truth that he seeks. The modern knights have seen a little change among the ranks of Outlanders. They hold fast to their traditions, but have finally adapted to technology. The Gangrel are predators, the most bestial kindred among the clans, and have come to realize that in order to thrive within the modern knights, they need to take advantage of technology. A cell phone can mean the difference between escaping death or being ripped to shreds by the enemy. Gangrel are often solitary and territorial, but at times they do form small packs or coteries. They rarely gather in large groups, but when they do gather in mass, it's for one of two things: a gather or a rebel. A gather is exactly what you'd assume, a large clan meeting where clan members discuss news, stories, and at times decide on courses of action as a group. These meetings may seem informal, but there are rigid rites to be conducted. They can take days to accomplish, but set a sort of hierarchy among the Outlanders. This must be done at every gather, because the circumstances surrounding the members and the gathering change every meeting. Now, these rituals are composed of two things that date back to ancient Gangrel times: combat and boasting. Combat is basic, nothing but your claws and fangs. Those who know each other may just spar, but strangers oftentimes battle till the opponent is either incapacitated or surrenders. Boasting is also exactly what it sounds like. Two kindred go before a group and tell tales of their deeds until one backs down. Now you can't just go making spurious claims. After the victor is decided, they must provide proof of their accomplishment or else lose their rank. Despite the ceremony of it all, business is taken care of within a week. A revel is something that both kind, kindred, and even werewolves should fear. It's when the clan goes to war. They separate into small hunting packs that track down and defeat any of their opposition. In times of great danger, a great gather could be called, in which any gangrel that can make it to the location is required to, immediately. It can only be called by a powerful leader who is respected widely among the clan. Grand revels are also possible. Both are considered to be bad luck, and luckily, one has not been called in centuries. Siring a child also comes with some ritual that many gangrel adhere to. A popular way to choose a child among Outlanders occurs during the process of feeding upon prey, dating as far back as the Noise War. Those who could resist against a vampire were prime targets for the embrace. Gangrel believed that those who resist have a strong will to survive, which is needed in unlife. Another way to choose a possible child is through stalking the night. Those kind who brave the dangers in the darkness can oftentimes pique the interest of a vampire, so much so that they could end up being embraced. No child is chosen without serious thought and consideration, unlike some other vampiric clans. The embrace isn't just for those deserving of unlife, but can be used as a punishment as well. Rarely done in the modern nights, a mortal who threatens or mocks the clan may receive a terrifying visit in the night. The embrace is ensured to be painful, horrifying, and loud, so loud that many of those punished this way are often discovered or dead by the time the sun begins to rise. But those who survive the ordeal can become eternal enemies of the very clan who would punish them. It's a punishment that can create dangerous enemies. But from the Outlanders' perspective, these initiates into unlife who would have a bright future within the clan. The clan's weakness is an interesting one that only really affects a kindred's ability to blend into society. When a gangrel loses themselves to the beast in frenzies, their bodies become forever marked. Bodies warped to take on animalistic features, tufted ears, tails, feathers, scales, and all of the above are possible. Beckett, for example, has cat-like eyes and fur-covered arms, accentuated by claws that put any other vampires to shame. These mutations become so distracting that after 5 marks have been accrued, a kindred's social skills deteriorate. Something I can understand. I mean, you're in a social situation with an outlander covered from head to toe in marks means only one thing. They frenzy, quite often, and no one wants to be around a gangrel that could go feral at any time. While around kind, these marks need to be hidden, lest you violate the masquerade. Gangrel havens are often far away from society. A cave, a cabin in the woods, some even have multiple places in which to seek refuge. Although some who keep a territory within the city often create squats in an abandoned building, with very few signs of what it actually is, all the better to catch prey unaware. The clan's disciplines are animalism, fortitude, and their claim to animalistic fame, protean. The beast resides in all kindred tribes. A bit more in the Outlanders' case, considering their weakness, but animalism is all about taking control of this aspect of themselves and amplifying it, allowing them to communicate with animals, eventually giving them control over beasts, humans, and even other supernatural creatures. Fortitude multiplies a kindred's already insane constitution. A bone-breaking blow may become a mere flesh. The power doesn't just protect them from bullets and bats, but also from the traditional banes of kindred, sunlight and fire. Protean allows its user to manipulate their physical form. Outlander scholars believe that the power results from a heightened connection to the natural world, while others consider it to be related to Cain. Those who develop this power can grow razor-sharp claws to rend their foes, completely transform themselves into animals like wolves and bats, or even aspects of nature itself like mist. This connection to nature itself allows practitioners to use a power called Earth Meld. The ability goes back to ancient times, where there was not enough protection from the sun while hunting the roaming tribes of humans. The vampire literally sinks into the ground, transmuting his substance to bond with the earth itself. The Gangrel as a clan hold interesting views on other clans. They often believe that the Toreador wants something from them when they quote-unquote lower themselves to an Outlander's level. Distrust among the Rabnos is still high even after all these years. Many Gangrel are first told that if a Rabnos comes to you and claims to be your brother, that you should pop your claws and make sure that they get the point. It's the only way they'll learn, and the only way that you can protect yourself. Good evening, Neonates. JB Illusion here. If you liked the video, please subscribe, or hit me up with a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, hit me up with a thumbs down. You can do that. And please follow me on Twitter or possibly Twitch, where you may see me play some awesome games like Vampire the Masquerade, Bloodlines, Redemption, and a whole host of other things. Thank you all for watching. Please be excellent to each other, and have a nice day. Good night.